Welcome, everyone, to Krypton to Alderaan, the podcast that will be with you always.
I like it. Classic.
I'm Joey, and with me, I guess, as always, is Royce.
Hi, podcast.
And Robin.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
If you'd like to reach out, we're at Krypton Alderaan on Twitter and krypton2alderaan@gmail.com. That's ALDERAAN. Reach out. Let us know. All right, here we are. What I've been into this week. Lorelai and I watched the first episode of the Watchmen HBO show, and I really like it. I really, really like it. For those of you who don't know, it's a sequel to the comic book, not the, I don't know if I discussed that last week or whenever we were talking about it. But it's a sequel to the comic book, not the movie. And I think they do it very well. We're one episode in, and I really liked it. But it's not like your typical comic book. Like Watchmen was not your sort of typical story, but this is very sort of racially heavy and, you know, thematic that way, while also playing as a sequel to the comic book Watchmen.
Does it feel like the movie, or is it a new...
It doesn't feel like the movie. You could probably watch it and not really know, other than there is one little clip in the beginning where there's like a news broadcast on a TV and it says sighting of Dr. Manhattan on Mars. And you see him like building this structure on Mars and then he demolishes it. Throughout the show, there's like little bits of... some television studio is making a documentary about the Minutemen, who were the original heroes from Watchmen. So it's like an expose documentary type thing. And those are really the only two real connections. Besides, obviously, there's a big Rorschach thing, but they don't really like reference Rorschach himself.
So that's all still like canon stuff then? It's not like it's...
Yeah, the events
universe.
that happened in the comic book happened in the past of this show.
Yeah, it's just not directly related to the movie.
Well, the movie ends very differently than the comic book ends, and the show incorporates that ending into the show.
Okay,
all right, so I'll like stop beating around the bush. In the movie, you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie? Okay, so in the movie, Ozymandias' thing is he unites the world against Dr. Manhattan, right? Like that's the thing. He's like, Manhattan's the threat. We can, like, in order for peace to happen, they find a common enemy in Dr. Manhattan. That was like Ozymandias' evil plan all along, but he thinks it was a plan for good. In the book, Ozymandias tells the rulers of the world, mainly America and Russia, that there are extra-dimensional or alien beings that are sending this creature to Earth. Anyway, at the end of the book, this giant squid shows up and like destroys New York. And so there's a scene in the show, in the new show, where it's like raining squids, because Ozymandias genetically built this squid in a secret laboratory to set it loose so that the United States and the Soviet Union would find peace and unite against this threat. But he obviously like broke something because it's now raining squid in the show. Yeah, and it's set like 30 years since the events of the comic book.
Cool.
So anyway, it's good. I enjoyed it.
Sweet. I want to watch it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm in.
What do you got, Royce?
Okay, so over the last couple days, I have been watching Mortal Engines, the epic movie.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm into it. It's so bad,
Yeah.
man. It's one of those things where they cram a ton of information into the movie. It doesn't all land. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's in some kind of like post-apocalyptic Earth 1,000 years in the future, and the crust has been messed up. Some kind of crazy weapon that humanity abuses, and it messes up the Earth's crust. So now there's all these cities on wheels. It's crazy. Everything looks like very like steampunky, even though it's like the future, you know? They call it municipal Darwinism. Like cities eat other cities, basically. And so like London is this big predator city, and it's like...
Is that what they think Darwinism is? Just things eating other things and absorbing their power?
May the best city win and evolve.
So Kirby is a good example of Darwinism?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was just having some Darwinism for lunch myself.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, London is just like this big predator city, eats smaller cities, and the president of London, I don't know like what their deal is. The guy that's leading this rolling city of London is the bad guy of the story, and he's killed the mother of the female protagonist, and she's trying to murder him basically to get her revenge.
Why didn't he just have the city eat her mother?
Yeah, Yeah, no, it's so wild. Just think about like the visuals. I don't even know how to like describe the movie, but that's one part of it.
Picturing cities on wheels with mouths.
Yeah, no, that's literally what it is.
I want to see the pitch meeting for that because that question he would just go because.
Yeah, no, pretty much. The opening scene is London eating a smaller city, and it's pretty cool. It goes downhill very quickly from there as they develop more story, and you're like, this is not that great.
Isn't that what they show in the trailer?
Yeah,
like, here comes London.
The scene from the trailer is the first couple minutes of the movie, which is interesting. You're like, what's going on here? There's a whole backstory of like how humanity messed up Earth, and now they're like collecting they call it old tech. They like find something. They're like, oh, it's old tech. And that's like a cool
dude,
thing.
that's a straw.
And well, so yeah, they like romanticize toasters. They're like, that's a really nice toaster.
That's gross.
London has a museum.
Don't have a romantic relationship with a toaster. Or do,
as long as it's not plugged in.
Yeah.
London has a museum, and they're like chasing after a city, and things are falling off the walls. And they're like, oh no, not the American deities. And they pan out, and it's the minions.
This sounds terrible.
So the main female protagonist, after her mother is murdered by this like London bad guy leader, she's raised by a zombie Terminator, basically. Part of this like history before the apocalypse, that there were like people that turned into robots that were like evil robots. And she's raised by this evil robot, which they just kind of throw out there. And it's actually like the best part of the movie. You find out this evil robot's got kind of a soul, and he like cares for the protagonist. But that's like a whole other part of the story. So weird. And so there's these mobile cities on wheels. They're called the traction cities or something. But then there's also an anti-traction part of Earth in Asia, where there are no mobile cities, where people still live in regular non-mobile cities. What a concept, this movie. And so at the end, London's trying to like break into the non-mobile cities. There's like a giant wall of garbage or whatever of like old tech. They call it the shield wall.
It sounds great. Actually, it sounds like, listening to you describe it sounds a lot like how I perceived me trying to explain Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, no, it's just, there's just a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know. It's not that great. So I wouldn't say I'm into it, and sorry for wasting the podcast time. But it looks really cool, and the backstory is cool. Maybe read the book if any of that sounded interesting. I'm sure the book is better because it's just, there's so much going on. Just like Crisis on Infinite Earth, like just read the book.
Yeah. Hashtag maybe read
better.
the book.
And
Great.
that's what I've been into.
What do you got, Robin?
Speaking of books, I'm into books this week specifically.
Great. The end.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a pretty short one anyway, but I got Pet Sematary, and I'm only 20 or 30 or so pages in, but so far I like it, and I'm excited to read my first Stephen King book. So that's what I'm into.
Cool. I like Stephen King a lot for a lot of his books.
I'm hoping it's really good and that I'll want to read more of his books.
Yeah, I think you will. Or also,
I want to watch
the
Langoliers again.
No one has ever said those words in that order in the history of since that movie was made. Okay, all right. So, guess what, everyone?
What?
No one tweeted at us or emailed in.
No announcements this week?
With a response to my thing last week about giving them Crisis on Infinite Earths. But last week, I asked both of you what comics books you would like to read.
Use guys?
And I brought them for you.
Yay!
Wow.
And so each of you get a comic book, and no one else does. No one emailed in or tweeted or even followed us. Anyway.
Thanks, dude.
That's a good one. And there's Watchmen for you. Enjoy.
I will get this back to you in 15 to 20 years.
That I've spoiled the ending for you.
Yeah, so I got Darth Vader. What's Imperial Machine? Is that the title of the book?
That's the title of that trade. So that's the one that takes place right after Revenge of the Sith by Charles Soule.
I like how the comic book starts with a crawl.
Yeah, all of them do. Sweet. Okay.
Can we not podcast? I'm reading for the first time in 25 years.
Not meow. I'm reading. That's Robin's new
Do you need to borrow my bookmark?
Okay, next. Let's dive right in. All right. So last week I introduced a new format for the show. Remember? When I was like, we're going to each pick a topic and discuss it. Remember that? And then I did that. Forget all about it.
We just don't. It's free form.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to do Star Wars. It's going to be... we
tried a couple ideas. We're just going to stick with what works.
Star Wars mega episode this week. So much Star Wars stuff happened. We got Game of Thrones directors and writers news. We got a Mandalorian trailer. We got a Rise of Skywalker trailer. Did we get anything else?
That's all the big stuff.
That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Game of Thrones writer-directors. So let's sum up. They were given a trilogy to work on, and then they backed off of that, and we're just going to do a script treatment for one movie, and now they're completely out. And I've read reports that say they've quit, and I've read reports that say they were fired. So my question overall is, what do we think happened, and also who cares? But could it possibly be that these guys are just might be that great at coming up with their own content? Like, people like Game of Thrones, mostly when there was content to work off of. Like, I think the consensus pretty much is Game of Thrones was good up until a certain point, and that point just happened to coincide with not having the books to base the show off of.
They started writing their own stuff, and the quality dramatically went down.
Right.
But that last season of Game of Thrones, which is the most terrible one, was happening as it was announced that they were going to be doing a Star Wars thing. So I thought that some people were like, yeah, they don't care about Game of Thrones because they're going to work on Star Wars, which makes sense. I would be totally about that. But I see that argument that they're just not good with original stuff. It has to be derivative. But then Star Wars could have still been derivative of tons of
It still really
stuff.
could have, because I think the implication was that they would do something Knights of the Old Republic, at least era, and that they were good at that.
There was an article that said they were going to do the first Jedi or something. The story was going to be.
And that's a very sort of medieval story to tell. They were literally knights, Jedi knights, and those guys were on paper good at that. They could have just borrowed from the content that already exists that needs to be brought back into canon, but now they're gone.
They had some $100 million figure Netflix deal as well, though, that was conflicting or something. You're right. There's a lot of stories floating around that you're not sure what happened. I don't know what the actual consensus is. I think that it's just the case that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't want to screw around with anyone that's not laser point focused.
Yep.
So they've doubled down on
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, Kevin Feige's in, who obviously is probably in the family, knows he's not going to mess around.
Right.
And they know he's not going to mess around. And then Rian Johnson, it seems like they're solid with him, though, that he's still in and going to do his thing.
Didn't he leave?
I thought he did.
I could be wrong. Maybe I'm blowing everything up now. But fact remains is I think Kathleen Kennedy just doesn't want to mess around. We can't have people making movies for us that are not 100% committed. You're only doing Star Wars, and you better do a good job and do it the way we want you to do it. Because otherwise, you wind up with
Game of Thrones.
Or some of the other piles of crap that have come out from Star Wars, where they had the guys from the Lego movie. They were doing Han Solo, and they were apparently turning Han Solo into a comedy when no one was looking, doing too much improv. So they got ousted from that. And that was a creative dispute. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing eye to eye, so you guys are out. And then they brought in Ron Howard.
So yeah, this stuff has been happening a lot with a lot of different properties. The writers change, or they drop a writer, or a new director comes on, and it never really works out for the best. Right, a movie.
There's just too much riding on it. It's not a one-off thing where you're sure, make a movie about mortal engines.
Right, but at least they're doing this way before the stuff starts production. Whereas Justice League changed directors very late in the game. Something terrible happened to Zack Snyder, and that's why. But still, very late in the game, the directors changed. Same with Ron Howard and
where the movie's coming out in several months,
do a bunch
and they
of
got to redo
reshoots
it.
and.
Yeah, Rogue One was the same thing.
So it looks like, as of news a couple of weeks ago, Rian Johnson was out, and then newer news is that he might not entirely be out.
Yeah,
for his own trilogy of movies.
Again, I don't we stink with news here in Krypton Alderaan. I don't know exactly what the deal is.
We read the headlines.
Yeah, no, that's it. So I don't know what the deal is, but it seemed to me, my take on it was they were screw these guys who are just bouncing around. They're just not in it. Where Rian Johnson totally played ball for Last Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
He played really bad ball, but he still played ball.
No, but he did what his boss wanted. You know what I mean? When you're I need to you got to suck up to get somewhere, and he did that.
I maintain it is my belief that Rian Johnson had a vision for that movie, and Disney overshadowed it. Disney executives overshadowed it with the intention of Disney said to Rian Johnson, if you conform to what we want for this movie, you can have your own trilogy to sort of show us what you got. I believe that their thought process is it was too risky to let him do that for The Last Jedi because it's the middle one of this.
Got to keep it together. We got another one to make.
Culmination of the saga. He's done a couple of things, but you can't just let him. He's not a J.J. Abrams. I think that they just overshadowed that movie, but sort of told him that he could have his own thing if they do what he said.
Yeah.
But then it got all jumbled with the Game of Thrones guys. It was like, okay, well, now you're kicking this guy out to give them the thing, but now they're backing off, but now they're quit or fired. It's obviously very messy. I also think it might be good to put a little bit of distance in the movies. Like, let this saga end. We're going to get all this content on Disney Plus right away.
Right.
We're going to have a lot of Star Wars to go on for a while. Maybe figure out the best way to move forward cinematically and wait a few years.
Totally agree.
Because Kathleen Kennedy just said something like, making 2 Star Wars movies a year doesn't work, which...
They should have just done the trilogy period. You got to start slow, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it might work if you're making good movies. I don't know. Like, a bunch of Marvel movies came out every year, or not a bunch, but like
you gotta
2
build
to
up
3
to it,
Marvel movies came out a year, and they were good.
No, I'm going to kind of be sad if we don't get a movie like after this trilogy ends, after Rise of Skywalker comes out and there's not another movie next year. Like, it kind of sucked this last year and a half when like there was a little bit more of a gap since Solo was in May. Mm-hmm. But I hope that they come back and it's just as strong as it was with Force Awakens, where you're like, oh my God, Star Wars is back, and it's like pretty good, rather than just pumping out crap.
Right.
So yeah, find directors that are good, that will do good work and play ball and not screw around and not make something you don't think they're making and whatever.
Just have J.J. Abrams do every Star Wars movie for the rest of his life.
I feel like that could be tricky also.
But he was so good.
And we'll see. We'll talk
a
lot about Rise of Skywalker, and we'll see.
Put a pin in that
see
one.
how Rise of Skywalker is. But it does.
I have high hopes
whatever,
for
we'll
it
say,
because of Force Awakens.
Exactly. He did a very... Force Awakens is one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm glad these Game of Thrones guys are out because just no more drama, no more BS. I think there's too much baggage with it. Get rid of them. We don't want any of this. And I think Disney's smart enough to say, like, bad press?
Yeah.
Nah, get out of here,
Yeah.
Trying to nip that in the bud as much as possible.
Clean slate. All right. Next up, Mandalorian. New Mandalorian trailer.
Trailer time.
Lots more Werner Herzog in it. Don't you love that? I love the Werner
pretty
Herzog.
epic.
It's so weird because the trailer is obviously a very cinematic trailer. It makes it seem like a movie. So as you're watching the trailer, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be in this scene in a prevalent part of the movie. But no, it's like an 8-episode series or whatever that's going to span, whatever. So who knows? But anyway, lots more Werner Herzog, lots more everything, really.
Funny you say the trailer is like a movie because... I know we're going to talk about like Skywalker or whatever, but like I'll use Mortal Engines as an example.
Wait, why not? Go ahead.
Because there's so much going on. You pack it in. You're like, what is this even about? At least with Mandalorian, it does kind of feel like film-esque, but there's not a ton of like story where you're like, this is going to be confusing. Mm-hmm. He's a bounty hunter, shooting up bad guys, capturing bad guys, and that's all that's there. And like, that's nice and concise.
Right.
Like, it doesn't look like this show is going to be out of it. Like, it's going to follow this one guy. It's the Mandalorian. It's Logan,
It's a very well put together trailer also. Like, it is like trailers come out a lot that are no good. Obviously, we see a lot of it just cut bad, or I don't think the first Rise of Skywalker trailer was that good. It was just kind of cut weird and the music didn't necessarily line up with what was going on in it. But this one, it's like 100% spot on in my opinion. What else happens in it? You got notes there?
I got some notes.
Speak it out.
I didn't know
Speak your truth.
What kind of things you wanted to hit on.
I want to hit on all of it.
Okay, well, I'll give you a random note because we'll see what sparks everyone's interest. Bill Burr with 2 guns and a robot arm gun? What? Never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
That was straight out of like Go-Go Gadget laser cannons.
You think he's going to be some angry stand-up comedian that goes throughout the galaxy?
He said he doesn't play a big role in it, but that scene just looked funny to me because he had an extra little shoulder robot gun.
All of my interest is now gone.
What? Come on.
Why do you need to put Bill Burr in it? It's just like, bloop. Remember Bill Burr?
I think that's so funny. He was on the H3 podcast talking about it, and he was like telling his friends, and they were like, what? You don't even like Star Wars? And he's like, yeah, but I couldn't say no. But that scene looked cool. Silly with his extra gun.
Just playing like an angry, really Irish guy who's got an extra gun. And
I think he works for a rival bounty hunting crime gang. And yeah, their signature is that they have an extra shoulder.
The signature
gun
is that they're
comes
all
out
from Boston. And
Robin, you're too sarcastic today. This is positive Star Wars comments only, please.
I'm so excited. I am so excited. I should have said this up top. I'm so excited to talk about Star Wars so much.
Dude, it's going to be
like a jam-packed episode planned that we're already into. It's all about Star Wars.
We're never going to stay on time for this episode.
Never stop talking about Star Wars.
Well, we're going to have to do it again next episode because this is going to be out by the time we record again.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no way we're not going to recap
Star Wars from now until forever.
Pretty much. All right.
Don't worry. I'll have a Crisis on Infinite Earths update.
Yeah, we'll jump around. But so Bill Burr with 3 guns, I thought that was crazy. Giancarlo, he's like flying some kind of TIE fighter. They don't show that, but it looks like he's in like the cockpit of like Darth Vader's TIE fighter or something. When you look up, it has those weird little like skylight windows or space light. There's lots of things that are sparking my interest. They're like, what is going on there? Like you say, making a good trailer. I want to see he's flying a TIE fighter around, but he's with stormtroopers, or I don't know what his deal is. He's like an Imperial guy. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, it's very curiosity. It's very enticing. I mean, the trailer doesn't give anything away. I'm speechless over it. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's a full synopsis to this show out there, and we just haven't looked, so we're just talking nonsense here. But
there's a scene with what looks to be some sort of like love interest that's like holding on to his Mandalorian helmet. Right. There's going to be something else there that they just haven't put in the trailer yet.
And I wonder how the fall of the Empire is involved. In Rebels, they introduced this weapon that the Empire has that specifically targets Mandalorians. It's destroyed in Rebels, but it was destroyed previously, and then it comes back in Rebels. And so I'm curious if there's some kind of thing like that, and he hates the Empire. I know there's a lot of story for them to incorporate in this. This trailer specifically made me very excited for it. I went from not excited to the first trailer got me excited, and this trailer is just so good that
man, I hope it lives up to it.
Very excited.
It looks like it's going to be quality because, like I said, it doesn't look like there's too much going on. Like they're going to do the TV show thing and develop it, and you get to know these people.
And a lot of practical effects.
Yeah, it looks visually looks really cool.
Yeah.
I'm always about that. Super battle droids. What's going on with them? Some people are saying it might be a flashback.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
Best in the parsec. Are they just doing that so people tweet?
It's just words. Yeah.
Say parsec, someone's going to lose their fucking
mind. I think
mind.
that's literally what it was. Like, you're the best in the galaxy. Like, no. Best in the parsec. I just think it's funny that they put that in the trailer because it's...
Yeah.
Knowing Star Wars for so long and what Star Wars fans get bent out of shape about, my ears perked up. I'm like, parsec?
Yeah.
No thoughts?
No comment.
Are you completely out now that Bill Burr is in it? He'll probably die.
I will watch it. I am not excited about it.
What did you think about the trailer, though? Like, did it excite you? Like, I think you and I said similar things the first time we talked about this when the first trailer came out, and that we didn't think we were excited about it, and then we saw the trailer and we got excited about it. Did we say that?
I think so, yeah. But I'm much less excited about it now. The production looks very like Solo, Rogue One type.
I thought those looked good.
I thought the production looked really good.
Those look good to me, and that's what I like. Is like, ooh, look at that Stormtrooper helmet. It looks real.
Yeah, I like all the practical. It seems, like the creatures, the aliens are all seemingly practical.
Right, that bar
effects.
Scene or whatever.
Right.
It looks very, very polished. And it looks very similar to the way like the trailers for like Rogue One and Solo looked.
Mm-hmm. What are they supposed to make it look like though? Like 1977?
I want it to look a little grittier is I think what I'm looking for. So I see this and it looks like very new and shiny and it looks like a Solo trailer and I'm like, so this is going to be just like those 2 movies that you should have never made because we didn't need them.
Well, like the visuals are just a sheen over everything. Like hopefully the story on its own can speak for it. You know what I mean?
I hope it ends up being really good and I hope that I'm wrong, but it looks... The trailers look too similar of a fashion to those 2 movies, and for that reason, it makes me not want to see it.
Well, dude, people will pick on the prequels because they're like, the CGI is wonky, there's too much of it, and the story's bad. Mm-hmm. So like you can't have both of that. You get one or the other. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It looks like such a Western to me. Like just maybe some of the in-between parts of the trailer look like such Western style to me, like the gunslinging bounty hunt. Like I think there's one point where he's got he's got his sort of, what would you call that?
Shocker gun?
No.
Cattle prod?
What do bounty hunters call who they're going after?
Bounty?
Sure. that makes sense. He's got his bounty and he's dragging him in and he shoots at him and like the bounty shoots at him and he shoots back and it looks like a saloon. It looks very Western.
The mark?
Even mark is the word I was looking for. Yeah. And the way he moves when he's like drawing his guns, it's very like old Western style.
I think that scene at the end of the trailer where he's like, come and get it, or whatever he says in response to the dialogue.
He says, come and get some.
No,
he says, good.
I think that's one of those trailer things where they've overdubbed that audio from a different scene. I don't think that's going to be that scene.
Yeah,
that's just a little prediction.
Because he's already outside. Whenever it's us, like, they're outside.
Right.
He's like, he wouldn't be like, I'm also outside.
It works for the trailer. Like find a scene where he's shooting his gun. It's great because you don't see his mouth, so they can overdub anything.
He doesn't even have to be in there.
I know.
Could be Jon Favreau in there. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I agree that his armor is too shiny. It's like, what's this, your first day?
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. Mandalorian armor might not get dirty. Some special alloy.
Can't look bad. It had like generic trailer music. I hope that's just for the trailer. Like Star Wars to me, like the music plays a lot into it. The trailer didn't do like da-na-na-na-na, like once. And I'm sure that that's a thing Disney's thinking about. Like
that might be
John Williams can't score every one.
Yeah. That might be a Skywalker saga.
Dude, but that's instant Star Wars. How do
you got to make a new sound, make new shows, make new sound. Something not necessarily with Mandalorian, but with wherever they go next. I think part of the thing, one, because John Williams, this is his
different people
Skywalker's going to be his last Star Wars, so they just need to find something new. John Williams' score we didn't associate with Star Wars before it was associated. It was specifically written to be associated with Star Wars. All they have to do is do that again. They just need something new and epic. I mean, it's not. What my point is that it's not impossible.
No, I'm just curious to see where that ends up. Not only for this series, but for like future films, because Rogue One was a different composer. I don't remember who did Solo, but the guy that did Lost did Rogue One, and he still did the music like in the vein of Star Wars. Though there's a style guide that like sounds like Star Wars, or certain like chords and whatnot that like work. It'd be cool if the Mandalorian had a theme that people were like, that celebrated that theme as much as they do the Duel of Fates or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes. I would be surprised if they don't.
I didn't hear anything in the trailer that spoke to me as like, ooh, that's the Mandalorian's theme or something, So I hope that music plays a role in it.
Yeah, Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
He just, it was just announced that he's going to score the Batman, which is the next Batman.
He's done a bunch of stuff. He
did
Star Trek,
Spider-Man.
I think there's some Spider-Man movies under his belt.
He did at least Homecoming. I know that, which I really liked because in the intro to Homecoming, he like plays on the Avengers theme and the old Spider-Man theme, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think he's good. I didn't like the Rogue One soundtrack initially, but the more I hear it, the more I'm like, okay, I can see where he was trying to pull the John Williams out, and he only had like 2 months or something ridiculous to like score that movie anyway, so it was kind of like rushed out.
Because he came on after someone else got fired.
Yeah,
right?
Somebody else was scoring it, and then he got brought on. They're like, it's coming out tomorrow, and he's like, ah.
Did they also change directors? Did Rogue One also change directors?
It had like a
Which
ghost
one was Colin
director.
Trevorrow?
He was going to do Skywalker. He was going to do the 9th movie.
Oh, okay.
And then he was out. Lots of changing hands.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited.
I'm not very excited.
All right.
Dude, I want to see you change your tune because next time we record, we're going to review this.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So close. How does it work? 3 episodes are dropping.
I think 2 or 3 come out the day Disney Plus
drops.
Comes out. And then Fridays are the release day. And I think it's 1 until they're done. So there's 1 every Friday since then. So is it the 12th is the release date?
12th.
So a couple are dropped then. Then there's
Which
a Friday.
Is a Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Why wouldn't they just wait until Friday? Anyway, whatever.
But then a couple days later, there's 1 new one.
Right.
And then they come out for a couple of weeks until like Rise of Skywalker comes out.
All right. Now we're getting into the big topic. The final Rise of Skywalker trailer dropped. I don't know if it's actually, do we think it's actually going to be the final one?
There's always an international trailer that comes
is
out that has extra stuff. And then they do like the TV spots that there's going to be lots of extra footage that comes out.
This is the last that I'm going to watch, and I'm going to have to try very hard to avoid any form of media that might show stuff. We, Robin, Royce, Lorelai, and I are going to see it on opening day, but there is also the chance of extra bits being spoiled before then. So, which brings me to a point. Some internet reviewers have said that they didn't really necessarily enjoy this trailer, that they thought it would have made a good first trailer, and not a good final trailer, which I completely disagree with. I think that this is a great final trailer in that there's only been like 2 trailers for this movie, and neither of them give very much away.
Why do you want to know everything?
Yeah.
I want to know as minimal as possible.
Exactly.
And I would be okay not seeing any because I just want to see how the story ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say I agree. This trailer got me very amped up. It made me very excited to see this film, and also it just builds you up. It's like, it's again a similar point to what I was trying to say about The Mandalorian, where it feels like an epic conclusion. The trailer itself is put together very well. The music's very good. Everything syncs up well. They show just the right stuff, and they just sort of reinforce that it's the culmination of 9 movies.
It seems like an epic ending. It's like Return of the King stuff, you know, like we're bringing everyone together.
Right.
So I'm with you. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. What are your initial thoughts, Robin?
It doesn't really seem like a final trailer. Like,
Okay.
I feel like a final trailer usually has a little bit more, and it's usually a little bit more epic. I think it would have been a really good, not necessarily first trailer, but like middle trailer. Like if this was the trailer we got in January or whatever, whenever the other one was for the Super Bowl or whatever, I think that would have been good for that. I would have liked it to be a little bit more.
They don't play any scenes out because some trailers, I mean, it depends on like the genre, I guess. Maybe this is different for Star Wars, but you never see like a preview of a scene kind of thing, you know? Like it cuts very quickly from epic moment to epic moment.
Yeah.
Which is great because you're like, wow, now I'm excited. They're going to have a million ships. There's a iceberg Star Destroyer. There's a, you know,
Yeah.
They just show you all this cool stuff after another, but you never get to see all this dialogue with Palpatine if they just let like one of those scenes play out and you're like, oh, so that's going to happen in the film?
Right.
Like you don't get the full context on any of the story or plot details.
I wanted a little bit more. It didn't really seem like a final trailer.
Tough to please.
I don't think we're going to get anything more
More.
of this, especially in the main vein of Star Wars, but especially with J.J. Abrams. A lot of the stuff in this trailer might not even be in the movie. They do this where they show us footage or stuff they filmed and then change the scene, or stuff they filmed just for the trailer. I mean, and J.J. Abrams just keeps everything so close. He doesn't want anything about it getting out.
Dude, please tell me the
Which I love.
Palpatine dialogue is a diversion. That's there for promotional purposes.
So I'd like to let's get into this also. Yeah. So Palpatine, why?
Why don't I want
Yeah.
Palpatine? They introduced all these new characters. Just have them have their own life and own story. And I know that this is part of the Skywalker saga or whatever, but like it's not though. Like you introduced all these new characters. They should have their own things. Kind of seems weird to me to throw Snoke in for an episode and a half and then bring Palpatine back when he was nowhere for the other. It's not even like they referenced him.
Right.
And I understand in Battlefront, Palpatine is like commanding forces or whatever. I get that he still kind of lingers in the lore, but he's not mentioned in the movies. So like, why are you here all of a sudden? Is it just corporate BS, which I get, but that doesn't excite me. It doesn't seem like how the trilogy would have actually developed if someone sat down to visualize the entire thing at once. It just seems like, oh, we'll just throw him in. That'll work out great. It wasn't a full thought out thing. So please just be for marketing. I just don't like the fan servicey reasoning behind it. If that is the case, maybe it turns out cool in the movie, but it just seems like people are like Palpatine's back. Like
It's
why though?
it's very member berry.
Yeah.
Remember Palpatine?
Yeah. So I hope that doesn't play a big role. This Death Star thing, maybe it could be cool if he pops up for a second, but it's not like Kylo was talking to Palpatine in episode 7. He was trying to talk to Vader.
Yeah. I think that if they do this where he's a big part of it, they could make it that he was pulling the strings behind everything in the other movies. And they could reference back and be like, and we might be able to watch this movie and then go back to The Force Awakens and watch this
That would be
trilogy
amazing
again
if it
and
made
be
it
like,
better.
oh,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. And maybe it was the idea the whole time. This is the end of the Skywalker saga, and we meet Palpatine before we meet
Stop selling me.
any Skywalker. Like, he's one of the first characters we see on screen at the beginning of the Skywalker saga in The Phantom Menace.
Right. Palpatine manipulates the Skywalkers pretty good through the whole series.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have him having, and there might be content out there that hints at this. There might be stuff in comic books and just stuff I don't know that's canon. I think it would be really interesting to have him at the end of this because it all started with him. And we see him like in the chair, right? He's like in the, and also that throne with the jaggedy one. Okay. Did you see that that's concept art from Return of the Jedi that they did for Return of the Jedi, which I also think is super interesting because they were thinking about it then. So they could have like, obviously they didn't use it in Return of the Jedi, but they could have tabled it and been like, we'll use this for this plot line later. Who knows? Back then they might have had the idea to continue the story and reintroduce him. So he's got this like secret throne room somewhere. I've never played Battlefront, so there might be canonical elements of
there's
what
like an AI
to
version of him still commanding the Empire, basically.
So maybe that's it. Maybe he is just, but it is the crashed Death Star, and who knows where it is. It might be Camino. They might be on two different places there.
Dude, so somebody, I forgot what video this was, but someone was breaking it down. They're like, it might have even have been a tweet, but they're like, how is there anything left? I've watched the end of Return of the Jedi multiple times. It blows up.
It could also be a Death Star that they built that it might not be Death Star 2 or whatever. It could be something completely different. It could be another Death Star that they abandoned or crashed or whatever.
Who knows? Maybe that's thinking too hard about it. I just think it's funny because when you watch the scene, it blows up into a billion pieces.
Right.
So
well, they could go back.
Yeah. Don't think about it too hard, I guess.
But I think it would be really interesting to have him there because he really started.
Right.
He started this.
If it ties together,
responsible for the implication is that he was responsible for Anakin Skywalker in the first place.
Yeah, I hope they tie it together, but yeah, I'm not super stoked on that because it just seems kind of member berries, but that's the only thing I'm really pessimistic about it.
This trailer was also full of feelings for me. Like the feelings swelled. Just the fact that it's the end really hit me with watching this. Not only that sort of overarching feeling of like, oh, this is it, but also there's a lot of emotional stuff in the trailer. And I think the biggest thing, who would have guessed it, is C-3PO. Like, you get a little choked up in that scene in the trailer. No? Yes, you do. When Poe's like, what are you doing, 3PO? And it's like, taking one last look at my friends. It's very, I mean, who knows what's happening to him? Did you guys have emotional reactions to? I know Robin's a no.
It's a great line of dialogue because his character is so like dry and awkward. So for him to be like sentimental is interesting. And whatever, he must be going on some suicide mission. People are like, he's going to go into kill mode. No, he's not. He just
wakes up with the red eyes. I'm curious to see.
He's just going to need to deliver the battle plans to someone on a desert planet or something. He's going to have to do a mission that only he can do. He's got to translate something because he knows a million languages. They say they put his memory back because there's the battle droid stuff. Who knows? It was a nice sentimental line of dialogue. A lot of people have pointed out, though, that his friends are not Poe and Rey and
I'm glad
Finn.
You brought this up because
they're like, his friends are fucking Luke, Leia, and Han, and Chewbacca.
I have two arguments.
His friends are already dead.
Yeah.
I have two arguments for this. One is this takes place like a year after. He's spent a lot of time with
you can
Poe.
become friends, yeah.
And second of all, he's a robot. He's like, he could be not only saying, taking one last look at my friends, meaning them, but if he's getting his memory wiped, going back through, taking a look in his memory of his friends before his memory goes away. Like they're hitting the delete button, so he's like nostalgically going back and being like, this is, I was built, and it's Luke, and I helped.
Right, the only way we can do this is if we wipe your memory.
Remember when I saved him from the trash compactor? Like he's going back in his memory, taking one last look at his friends, which is heartbreaking.
Wow, that's pretty powerful there if that's the case. Yeah, you totally debunked that one. I like that. I like that take in it.
I really love that scene.
Joey spoke for you. Was he accurate?
No, that's pretty accurate. Like I don't like things that are meant to make you feel sentimental.
That was the most spoon-fed line of the whole thing.
So I see something like that, my immediate reaction is like,
oh man, brutal.
But also I wouldn't be surprised if they throw that in there and then it ends up being he thinks he's going to die and then he doesn't die and then C-3PO is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's how they spin that, unless they're, deleting his memory or something. But if it's something where he's just thinks he's going to die, or like they're going to die or something.
Well, you're saying like they're bringing this to an end, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to do new movies after this, probably maybe never continue this Skywalker storyline. So like all the possibilities, if I'm a writer in a room, especially a J.J. Abrams writer who's like, I'm going to think way differently than you might think you want to think or whatever. What do we do? Oh, let's like
Kill everyone.
literally like maybe murder characters or like flip what you might think about characters. Yeah, I didn't think about there being a more emotional thing other than he goes on a suicide mission, he completes it and he blows up. But like to make it more emotionally driven like that, yeah, he's not even the same C-3PO anymore. That is that's heavy for Star Wars.
There's also the premise like that that 3PO and R2-D2 worked on the Imperial ships for a while after Revenge of the Sith, right? But then they're on Leia's ship when it gets captured. Is that correct? Am I misremembering? So there's the implication that maybe he was an Imperial droid and then the rebellion wiped his memory and he was the C-3PO. He was the C-3PO that we meet in A New Hope. So they could just be like sending him undercover as an Imperial droid, which is why he wakes up with red eyes. I'm thinking they also might be uploading him to a ship in that scene. It's very much like what happens in Solo. Visually, it looks like, from what I remember. So I'm wondering if they're uploading him into a ship, either
you need to translate
the Falcon
the ship for
or
us.
Another maybe fighter ship, and he has to, because there is that scene in the trailer where there's an X-wing or something that's shooting down TIE fighters going up against this big ship. I don't know if that's C-3PO, but anyway.
I was stoked to see the Y-Wing and B-Wing action going on. There's that scene with like 1 million ships. Like, I'm very excited that they're having like space battle, but then there's like planetary adventures and there's also dark side adventures on an ice planet. Like, they're going to be jumping around, and I like that because that's what I think about the classic Star Wars movies. Like, they go from planet to planet, like you're on Hoth, then you go to Dagobah, and then we go to Bespin, like you jump around in a Star Wars movie. You get to see the universe and you get to meet different people. And it seems like we're going to go to a couple different places. There's definitely a space battle. I don't know if there's like a land battle going on, but
I don't know. We just see Rey running on that forest planet. I'm wondering where that is. Also, she has the training gear, and then she jumps to the Death Star, to a crashed Death Star. And I'm wondering if that's the same place that comes up later. But anyway, go ahead with...
Well, it just seems like they're going to actually have an adventure, and that's cool.
Galactic story.
And they're bringing back other ships other than just X-Wings or the 3 ships that were in The Last Jedi. Like, Last Jedi didn't go anywhere, you know? We went to the casino planet, and we went to Crate. There wasn't anything going on in there. We spent it on a ship, and that was it. Star Wars movie to me is an adventure, Yeah.
Another super interesting thing, I think, is that at the end of The Last Jedi, there's no one left. And in a year, they have managed to seemingly recruit an army, which is, I think, incredible. That's an also very sort of incredible scene in the trailer to me when the Millennium Falcon comes up and you see all these other ships.
Leading
and
charge.
You see the Ghost from Star Wars Rebels. I love that.
There's a lot of ships in that scene.
Whether any character from that is actually going to be in this story or not, I love seeing that ship. I think that's amazing. What's going on with the Star Destroyer coming out of the Earth? Like, Palpatine's talking and the Star Destroyer is coming out of...
That's what I mean.
So is it that ice planet? Like,
I think it's that
where
ice
were
planet.
These things?
I think it's coming out of ice.
There is a story somewhere, right, where Palpatine hid these, or sent a fleet on a mission somewhere, or hid them somewhere out in space.
Right.
Man, how do
what
they
about
win?
The space horses?
Do you think the good guys are going to win?
I don't even know who the good guys are, really. It doesn't even seem like
Remember
there are
Benicio
bad guys.
Del Toro in The Last Jedi? He was like, there are no good guys.
Well,
everyone sells weapons to everybody.
That might be it, because there's no, they didn't show like Hux or that other big fat guy that, well, I guess maybe he blew up on that other like Dreadnought or whatever. They didn't show any like First Order bad guys. So
they didn't show any bad guys.
Who are the bad guys other than
Just showed
Kylo
Ren.
and Palpatine?
And he's holding his lightsaber really stupid when they're walking at each other. He flips it around so it's backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Looks weird.
Pulling a Star Killer.
Ahsoka Tano can hold it that way, or nobody can hold it that way. You understand?
Didn't Star
And
Killer?
Star Killer, but he's not canon. It's Star Killer base now. Who's in those ships?
I don't know.
The ships are coming out of the ground. Who is on those ships?
I don't know. The ships are also huge, so to man those ships, I assume you need lots of people.
Yeah. Also, something I would consider weird is happening to Kylo's face at the end of the trailer. There's either a series of lights on his face. Did you guys notice that? It's like right before we see Palpatine confronting Rey.
No.
All right, well, take a look. I don't know what it means, but it looks weird.
Well, they played with the lighting on his face. Spoiler alert: when he kills Han Solo, where it's like red and blue, and then it fades like to only red.
Right.
Maybe it has some kind of similar thing to do with that.
Yeah, maybe he's turning towards the light.
Right. Redemption. Dude, space horses. No comment on horses running on a Star Destroyer in space or whatever. Did you catch that?
You bring a horse to a space fight. No. I don't know. They look better looking space horses than the last space horses we got in The Last Jedi. Remember they ride the space horses?
Whatever those were,
This broom boy cleans their stalls.
Let's not talk about it.
All right, what else we got? Okay, so Rey's on a few different planets. She's got, it's just, again, a very curiosity thing. It's like, why is she running from that thing? Why does she throw the helmet down?
Well, they don't tell you what's going on. You don't know what's going on. You have to just see it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it ties together.
What are your favorite moments from the trailer, Robin?
I like the music.
Please say something else. So did you not like this? But besides you thinking it's sort of not a good last trailer, did you like the trailer?
I apparently didn't pay very much attention to it because a lot of these things you guys are mentioning, I don't remember. I remember the beginning, and I remember really liking the music in the beginning where she's like drops the helmet or whatever and she runs away. And it's like super creepy.
Yeah.
Definitely
I like
very
that
Halloween-y,
a lot.
creepy in the beginning.
Yeah. And I remember like random other things, but I don't remember space horses or. I don't know if I can accurately comment on whether I liked it or not. I just remember not thinking it was really like a final trailer feeling. Because normally they leave you with like one thing where you're like, oh my God.
Well, because the other trailer ended on Evil Rey or whatever, and you're like, what the like there was no mention of that in this one.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's part of this confusion, diversion, whatever you want to call it.
There's usually like not even just Star Wars, but any sort of movie with like their final trailer, there's usually one moment where you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens.
Well,
and
Last
there wasn't
Jedi,
anything
like Luke
that.
was like, it's time for the Jedi
to
end. Blah, and then it comes out in red text. You're like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I didn't feel that with this trailer at all. I just was like, okay.
Well, I think they just know it's the conclusion, so you got to come see how it plays out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, for me, the implication that Palpatine was behind all of these events was that for me. And then you actually sort of see him confronting Rey. Oh, and then another very emotional scene for me was obviously the last scene. I think that was a very good last scene for the trailer. It kind of goes with, again, for me, with what you're saying, where it's like a oh my God moment. Not necessarily like, oh my God, but more like, oh, that's so good, was with when Luke and Leia say the Force will be with you always.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what we didn't talk about Leia, but I'm curious to see how they incorporate her.
Yeah. There's like the scene where they hug. That's all we get. And then her voice. I think they'll kill her off and it will be the Force ghosts talking to Rey in that way, but who knows? But yeah, evil Rey, Palpatine might bring her out. I love speculating. We could do it all the live long day, but we don't want you to have to edit that much.
Is the ending scene gonna have Force Ghost Leia, Force Ghost Luke, Force Ghost Anakin, Force Ghost Obi-Wan, and that's it?
So that really appeals to me because I absolutely love, for example, something like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the TV show, one of the greatest animated TV shows ever created. It's phenomenal. I cannot wait for the live action Netflix version next year. Anyway, in that, there's a lot of the Avatar interacting with past avatars. And so you feel this spiritual connection to all of these historic characters. It's just very sort of interesting and powerful and a great storyline. And I love that. I sort of love the idea that if Rey stays good as she's going into her last final battle, she has the presence of all of these good Force wielders behind her, and we can see that. And yeah, I really like that. What do you think, Robin?
I don't want that.
Succinct.
Was that Return of the Jedi where they have all the Force ghosts?
Yeah, they're having a party and the Force ghosts are all there together and Luke's
I really like that scene.
hi, Force ghosts, and then it ends and it's a very happy ending.
No,
Lando's clapping.
I don't want
Not
that.
with Hayden. I like it better with the guy who played Darth Vader than Hayden Christensen.
No, I don't. I didn't like that. And if that's how they end the entire saga, is with like a scene where everyone's celebrating or something, and then they have 15 Force ghosts, I'm definitely not going to be into that.
All right. Well,
Rise of Skywalker, though, it's got to have to do with Skywalkers. I think Hayden Christensen's, he was in Return. He's going to be in this.
I think he's going to be in it. Yeah, I do.
Sorry, Robin.
I boycott.
Anyway, people are mad about the music, even though you like the music.
I like the music a lot.
I do like the music too. People are mad because it uses, when they do the main theme, the second half, not the creepy intro that you're all about. In the second half, they do like the main Star Wars theme, but they use like the 4 like cliche pop chords in it that like every song ever uses. And it's just very like, oh, okay. It sounds good, but it's like a pop song. They turn Star Wars into a pop song basically in the way that they reharmonize the original chords to the melody. I don't think it sounds bad, but a lot of people are like, that doesn't really seem like Star Wars. But to your point, you're like, I like the music. It feels good. It does feel like, oh, this is so big and epic.
Yeah.
And like the particular chords that they use for that make you feel that way, even if you just heard the chords themselves, you know?
I think that's perfectly fine for a trailer.
Right.
They want to get you amped up. It's the last one. It's the culmination of 9+ movies. I don't know.
I want to feel something. I want to know that we go to see this movie, you pay the money for the ticket, you get the big popcorn, and then you're satisfied. Whatever you have to do to achieve that.
Yep.
I think the music in the trailer is great, and it's going to be awesome in the movie, and everybody just needs to relax.
I don't think they're going to...
So we have criticized the shit out of all of this, and we might be some of the people that need to relax.
No, it's just like you said. I think that's a trailer element. I don't think that's how the music will be in the movie. And a lot of people are trying to figure out who actually wrote that, but there's many people that contributed to the music in the trailer apparently because it's John Williams' theme, but somebody clearly was like, put these pop chords behind it and kids will like it.
Whatever. They Disney'd it out. It's fine. It's a great trailer, in my opinion.
It does sound epic.
Well, we touched on everything I wanted to for the trailer and speculated on most of the things I wanted to speculate on.
Agreed.
But I want to ask Robin one last question because we got into Force Ghosts and everything, but how did you feel at the last moment of the trailer when Luke and Leia, Rey has tears in her eyes and Luke and Leia say, the Force will be with you always? Did that do anything for you?
Nah.
Dude, because at first...
Robin is sick of Star Wars.
When we saw this, I wanted to say something and I was like, Robin's not going to care about this because initially I was like, the always sounded weird. And I didn't figure it out until someone in a stupid YouTube video was like, oh my God, Leia at the end. And I was like, oh, that was Leia. Because the always sounded weird to me. And I was like, Luke couldn't have said the word a little bit better on that take.
Really?
I didn't realize
it was Leia.
I didn't realize it was Leia at first until it was overanalyzed with somebody else. But I was going to ask you, and I was like, Robin's not going to care. And she didn't care.
I apparently tuned out most of the trailer, I'm realizing.
That's all right. We'll watch it again. And again and again and again.
Yeah.
And then we'll go see it. It's
I'm
very
liking it
close. We're a month away. We're like, what are we? Like a month and 20 days away.
Yeah, a month plus.
I'm excited to see it.
We're 2 months away.
I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be really good. I just don't like, especially in trailers, those moments where they purposely are like, this is going to make people cry. Like, I don't like stuff like that. I would rather be like, I'm so excited than like, oh my God, I'm so sad.
Yeah, I understand. I would rather them give away those moments than give away like the big reveal. I don't think you would like them to give away the big reveal either, but I'd rather them give away some of the emotional moments than some of the action moments. There's a lot of action in this trailer though. How do they win? That is a lot of Star Destroyers.
They've got a lot of ships too.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm very excited.
Agreed.
I'm going to get my fill starting November 12th. I'm going to watch nothing but Star Wars.
While we have been podcasting, I did sign us up for Disney Plus. So we are also all set to go.
Yay! Okay, that's it. That's all we have on Star Wars. Do you have anything else?
No.
Do you have anything else?
No.
You didn't even watch the trailer.
I watched it several times, but apparently it's like when something really scars you and you just like repress the memory.
Oh my goodness. These are very hot takes.
Ouch.
Secret surprise question time. I don't know if we've done this one, so if we did, just cut this. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Is it stupid to pick favorites? Mark Hamill had the best tweet. He was like, rank all Star Wars movies. And Mark Hamill was like, all Star Wars is good.
Nice. That's I like that. What do you call that? Democratic take on it? Or not
Diplomatic?
Diplomatic, yeah.
I would tend to agree with him. The more time goes on, the more I just like it all, honestly.
It all ties together, so you can't like one without the other because it all kind of influences. Do you want to go?
I mean, I would say like Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, for whatever reason, I'm not a huge fan of A New Hope. I think it's very good to like have been the first one, but the more Star Wars they make, the less I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't like any of the prequels.
Yeah.
Force Awakens, I would also put top 3.
I would go A New Hope.
Really?
Empire is like the first cool Star Wars where you're like, that's cool. The bad guys win.
Yeah.
Like the Hoth battle's super cool. Also, the music in the Hoth battle is awesome. The music on Bespin is also awesome. But A New Hope is like, it's OG, it's a classic Coke, you know?
That's the one with the actual cocaine in it. Star Wars with the actual cocaine.
Yeah. No, I just think like it's everything is pure in A New Hope. Like, so everything else you like about Star Wars like stems from that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the Bible, dude.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I like it, and I think it's a good way to have started off like the entire franchise, but I do prefer Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Empire's good. Return is good, but that's got some silly shit in it.
I like Endor a lot. I think that's why. And I think it's because, like, in real life as a person, I just like forests and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a cool scene.
So I think that's probably why I rank that higher.
Ewoks, though, and the sing-along thing, the whole Tatooine part goes on too long. Return is not solid through and through for me, although I do like the space battle at the end. But A New Hope, dude, it's original. That's my take.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
It's interesting, as I think a lot of people's favorite is Empire Strikes Back. And it's even more interesting because George Lucas had like nothing to do with it.
That's probably why.
Obviously, I'm going to rewatch everything before The Rise of Skywalker comes out. It's really quite a toss-up for me. I really, really like all of it. Honestly, I really like all of it. I really love A New Hope and I love Empire. I love the original trilogy. But man, The Force Awakens for me is way up there. It's way up there. I would say if I picked a favorite of the original 3, The Force Awakens would be tied.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, they're pretty similar.
I do remember in college, we would have this conversation with people, especially where I worked in college, and the conversation would come up and everyone would always pick Empire, and I would always say Return of the Jedi was my favorite. That was my go-to. And no one ever appreciated that because they said it goes on too long, like you said, and they said it's got the Ewoks. I think all of that is great. I think the C-3PO in charge of like the Ewok god and all
one
of
of
that
the
stuff
best
is
parts.
good. I really like that it's like, it's serious and fun and funny.
Sure. Yeah.
I appreciate the Ewoks for what they are. Apparently, if you go into like outside Empire Strikes Back canon stuff, the Ewoks it retroactively makes the Ewoks much cooler. But I would say pick one of the original trilogy and it'll be my favorite when I watch it. And then The Force Awakens. Man, I really love The Force Awakens. A whole lot.
Pretty solid.
There's also an extremely emotional part of The Force Awakens, I think, for me, which is when Han confronts Kylo Ren. Not when Kylo Ren kills Han, but when Ren is walking across the bridge and Han goes down there and yells Ben. Mm-hmm. When I first saw that in theater, like I got choked up at that. Like they named their son Ben. Like I loved that part and it was extremely emotional because he was so important to them.
The person that brought Han and Leia together.
Yeah. It was just like, and was incredible. The lightsaber, the Force back scene with Rey, Maz Kanata. It's all good. I really like all of The Force Awakens.
You got a boyfriend? Cute boyfriend?
Yeah. All right. You don't like Finn. I really like Finn.
I
don't want to hear anybody say that Finn is the Jar Jar of...
I mean...
He's a little silly in that one.
Some silly lines and stuff, but he's nowhere close to...
Dude, the thing that they need to... not need to change, but the thing I would change in Force Awakens is the scene where they do the meeting with Snoke and he goes, "That droid is in the hands of your father."
Yeah, that scene.
Han. Pause for dramatic effect. Solo.
He knows who his father is.
And the audience, that would have been so much better left off to like, do you know who has the droid?
Yeah.
And he's like, it'll be no problem, you know? Don't give that away. And then when they meet on Alenia or Maz Kanata's planet, Takodana, Han sees Leia for the first time
for Donna later.
Nice. Han sees Leia though for the first time in a long time. They embrace.
And he's like, they have our son.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would have been.
I agree. Yeah, so that's a good point.
It's still decent. I'm with you that Force Awakens is of the new trilogy my favorite so far.
Well, yeah, we don't have much to go on.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just sort of nostalgia kicking in hardcore because this movie's coming out and it's ending everything, but I just like a lot of it. I mean, there's stuff at the bottom. There's stuff that's not as good as other stuff.
Yeah.
Like Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are not as good as other movies. But I still think there's a lot of good stuff in them.
If you invited me to watch any Star Wars, I'm going to come over and watch that Star Wars.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. You want to come over and watch Star Wars? Great. Cool. That's the show. You want to bring us home?
Thanks for listening to Krypton to Alderaan, the podcast. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can send us a tweet at Krypton Alderaan or an email at kryptontoalderaan@gmail.com. Send us stuff and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If it's iTunes or Spotify, can you leave reviews on Spotify?
Sure.
You can listen to podcasts on Spotify. I know that.
And if you tune in, you can listen to your reviews.
Yeah, let us know where you're listening and leave us a review wherever that is.
Yeah, please do. It would really help us. It'd just be nice to hear some feedback and sort of any feedback.
We're lonely.
Yeah. Please call in. So that's it. I've been Joey.
I've been Royce.
I've been Robin.
And we've been Krypton to Alderaan.